Hello?
As we usher guests in.
We can hear you now.
I can hear both of you. I can hear Dr. Ross.
Here's a
and
problem
Miss
with the
Kim.
speakers?
Miss Kim, I don't know if you're able to hear Dr. Ross because he was actually.
You can all hear me, right?
Yes, but I don't think you can hear us.
Can't hear us.
I think Dr. Dunn needs to raise her hand.
I can hear you.
Dr. Vivian, absolutely. Dr. J. Dunn, please put up your hand. Brother Naresh, welcome again. It's such a pleasure to have you. I'm sure you can add to this conversation. And I don't know why I can't see this last part. The last person, can someone help me? Because I cannot for whatever reason. My
Miss
sister.
Tilda, how you doing? Thank you for showing up.
Thank you so much. So this is the second episode for Oncology and Well-Being, what that means, and we'll be covering AI specifically, how AI is being used in multiple areas of cancer detection, early detection, I may add, genetic markers, solution-based AI applications are also a part of this entire plate of discussion at this point, and things that are happening inside of the world of oncology, specifically breast cancer, but also other cancers as well. We have Dr. Roz here. We have our team from the Happiness Tribe. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Marjorie Paula Norales. Everyone call me Paula. I'm a farmer. I'm a strategist. I live in Belize, and I'm a member of the Happiness Tribe. And I like to call myself the grandmother of the crowd because I'm the old lady with a lot of experience in different areas. So I want to thank you again for being here, and I will pass the mic to Sister Yodit.
Thank you, Miss Paula. I'm Yodit Mulusi, and I'm joining you from Gaborone, Botswana, in Southern Africa. It's very hot here. And also a very happy and proud member of the Happiness Tribe. My passion is people and really wanting to leave this world better than how I found it, because I'd like to see my grandchildren enjoying Earth one day. So that's what I'm about. I'm very excited about the conversation this afternoon. Thank you all very much for joining us. May I pass the mic on to my colleague, Selassie?
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Gladys Bolding, Dr. Gladys.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gladys Delancey-Bolding. I'm actually a scientist. I'm in academia, so I teach at a Jersey State University where I teach in an array of courses, and yeah, so that's me.
Miss Kim, please introduce yourself. And if
Thank
Go ahead.
you. Thank you, Miss Paula. Yes, my name is Miss Kim. I love all things people, technology, education, just learning. And I'm a big part of the Happiness Tribe. And I'm very happy to see you all, our listeners. And I think Dr. Dunn should be on the speaker's lounge because she's one of our speakers. So if you lift up your hand, Dr. Dunn will bring you up. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this conversation, learning and unlearning.
Thank you, Miss Kim. And next we have Brother Selassie. Brother Selassie, please introduce yourself.
I'm Selassie from Ghana. I'm a proud member of the Happiness Tribe, and I am more passionate about youth development all over the world.
Thank you, Selassie. And last but definitely not least, we have Dr. Roz. Dr. Roz, go ahead.
I am Dr. Ross. That's RAS because I am really a scientist. I am a neurotrauma endocrinologist, meaning I study the brain and reproductive hormones and how can we use that to improve neurogenesis or the regeneration of new brain tissue after brain trauma, such as stroke, seizures, Alzheimer's disease, and what so have you. I'm a proud member of the Happiness Tribe and also Geddes Neural Network, the Generational Learning Lab, Microtron, Surge. I can keep going on and on with all the affiliations, but I'm glad to be here. And we have a very exciting show with some very exciting colleagues in a very important area as we think of the time of the year. You know, Halloween is coming, but more so we have Thanksgiving in the States coming up and the Christmas holidays and the New Year coming up. And, you know, you think about family and life and experience and what better topic to talk about than one of the biggest not mental, but medical health issues and also well-being. So physical and mental well-being related to cancer and oncology. So I'm glad to be here and excited to get the show started.
Thank you, Dr. Roz. I'm trying to bring up Dr. Dunn. Can someone please assist me? Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Dunn. Welcome to the Happiness Tribe podcast. It is such a pleasure to have you here. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it. I'm very new to this group and very new to the happiness. I love the happiness idea, happiness project, happiness tribe. I'm a doctor. I do natural medicine. I specialize in biochemistry and genetics and nutrigenomics. So super excited to be included in this incredible group.
Thank you so much. And please allow me to jump right in. You said nutrigenomics. Could you please expound on that and kind of explain to us what that is?
Yeah, it's using natural medicine, nutrition, diet, lifestyle, supplementation to balance out genetic variants and optimize the body for preventing cancer or preventing mental health issues or anything that you are like genetically sort of susceptible to. So there are ways that you can modify your genetic expression, and we call that the science of nutrigenomics.
That is most excellent. Thank you, ma'am. So here's the first question. Because we're looking at breast cancer and artificial intelligence from your vantage point, from your experience, can you tell us a little bit about how and if AI is being used in your area of expertise in terms of health and well-being or nutrition and gene expression?
Yeah, very much so. In fact, I created a software program that looks at genetic variants and uses an algorithm that, you know, is an AI adaptation to look at okay, for this person, then they have a risk for breast cancer or whatever kind of cancer. This is their best diet. This is their best lifestyle. And these are the things that they can do supplement wise to inhibit that particular genetic predisposition toward cancers of all kinds. So.
Let me use an example. In my family, we have a whole variety of cancers on my father's side of the family. I suspect that there must be some gene correlation with that. Can you explain how that?
Passionate about, because my father died of cancer too. And, you know, the thing that started me thinking about this, and I imagine you can all relate, but my father was a big smoker and drinker and did everything he could to get cancer, and it worked. But his best friend, after my dad died at 55 of lung cancer, his best friend, his best friend was doing the same thing. He married my mother after my dad died, and he did the same things for another 30 years. So the only thing that you can say about that is, gosh, you must have good genes. You know, we've all kind of said those kind of things, I think. But then when I started looking at our genetic variants, I had inherited a gene called the vitamin D receptor gene that is highly associated with a much higher risk of cancer when you smoke. And so, you know, that's when it started me looking at, oh, wow. So it's not just lifestyle, it's lifestyle, you know, genes load the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. So there are a lot of things you can do. Of course, you know, in that case, you wouldn't want to smoke. That's a duh. But there are other things, you know, certain lifestyles and even foods that we think are healthy for us that are actually sabotaging our health and making a gene express in a detrimental way. And that's where, you know, getting your genes tested is so powerful, because then you know what what's happening down the line, what the potential pitfalls are in your genetic variants. And you can do things to avoid that, you know, that are very specific, very unique to you, very individualized.
Thank you, Dr. Dunn. So here is my follow-up question. Is there anyone on the team that have a follow-up question to Dr. Dunn's statement? Dr. Roz?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, by the way, Dr. Dunn, for being here. I'm so excited to have you, and I'm excited for what the future will unfold. But let me, as an educator, I have to start with some basics. So can you, as if you're speaking to a fifth grader, can you, we're talking about oncology and well-being. Can you explain in general terms, what is cancer, then genes, and then epigenetics?
Okay, how much time?
In a very basic, 1, 2, 3, just to tie it together for individuals who may not be professionals in what we do.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Roz. It's good to see you again, and thank you for the invitation to this group. Yes, so let's start with genes. Some basics about genes. You get one set of genes from mom, one set of genes from dad, and those combine to give you a unique set of genes. Some combination of either. It's not linear, but you have inherited certain genetic, what we call variants or SNPs. So let's say your ancestors won wars, and they were able to procreate and pass down their genes. You could have inherited genetic variants in the category of like, well, I get angry easily and I'm aggressive and irritable. I'm a warrior. That's what we call the warrior gene. So when you've inherited certain genetic variants, you have certain tendencies, but you also have certain health risks in that category. So when it comes to your genes are your blueprint. They basically tell your body what to do and how to do it, how to create an enzyme in your body. So let me give you a simple, for instance, if you've inherited genetic variants in the ability to make the lactase enzyme that breaks down lactose, then you're going to be what's called lactose intolerant. Your body doesn't make that enzyme to break down lactose. And so it's a good idea to avoid milk. Otherwise it's going to build up in your body and create all kinds of like digestive problems or inflammatory problems, or even brain chemistry problems can occur from that. So every enzyme in your body, so we have enzymes that govern how our body works. Do we detox properly? You all know that if you can't get rid of toxins out of your body, you're going to be a little more susceptible to toxicities, which can lead to cancers. That's no big surprise. There are also genes that are associated with mitochondria. And as time goes on, we're finding that mitochondria damage is one of the biggest causes of cancer. In fact, there's a really good book, if you're interested in the topic, called Tripping Over the Truth. And it was about the Warburg principle. And like way back in the 60s, Otto Warburg found that, 100% of the time, the people that had cancers had damage to the mitochondria. And that mitochondria is like the powerhouse of the cell. It's how we make energy. It's how we convert our food into energy. And without that working correctly, we are highly susceptible to damage and to what's called free radicals, building up in the body. And I'm sure you're all aware of what free radicals are. They can lead to cancer. And they also back up the body's supply of glucose, and glucose feeds cancers. And so in a variety of ways, that's really where, when we look at cancers and we look at susceptibility to cancers, yeah, you can have some genes over here that, like the BRCA or the, whatever genes lead to whatever cancers. But if you can't make HCP, our basic unit of energy, correctly at the cellular level, you can't repair that damage that happens. And so you can't get glucose out of the cell to keep from feeding a cancer. You can't repair the RNA and DNA that's damaged by chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals, radiation, etc. So it's a matter of a couple of main principles. One is, again, the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. The other one is called methylation, and that's the body can make methyl groups that cover up a gene and keep it from being expressed by the environment. That's a really big concept. But if you have genetic variants in a particular gene that keeps you from making those methyl groups, then you're highly susceptible to all the damages that we're exposed to. And our generations are exposed to more chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals, radiation than any generation ever. And so it's even more important that we look at these basic concepts of biochemistry in the body to prevent those things, to prevent the environment from turning on and expressing cancers. So that's really, we look at the most basic cause, and I would much rather get to prevention than to, try to fix a cancer once it's started. There are a lot of things you can do that are fundamental and fairly easy to do that can prevent those things from expressing. Is that what you're looking for?
That is what I'm looking for, and this is perfect. And as you get into prevention now, we can absolutely talk about MyHappyGene. But what you're saying, what I got from what you said is not only is the environment important that you live in then, but also then nutrition and what you eat. So how does that roll into everything here now?
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just that, it's, let me give you a for instance. If you have a genetic variant in mitochondria and your ability to turn food into energy, often that was adaptive from our ancestors who maybe went through starvation. They couldn't get enough calories, and so they learned, their bodies adapted to holding on to calories. But it also, in this environment of, all the pesticides, chemicals, all the things I mentioned, it makes you highly at risk for mitochondrial dysfunction, and then those damages also damage, those insults also damage mitochondria. So it's like it just spins. And so yes, so eating correctly, avoiding pesticides, putting down doing things to protect yourself from electromagnetic fields, getting things that have antioxidants. Yes, those are all good. Absolutely, but also some targeted nutrition, and it's straying into the realm of biohacking, if you will, because I've got, I have the VDR gene, the vitamin D receptor. I can't absorb vitamin D. My ability to do that is greatly reduced because of a genetic variant that I inherited, and so my body is about 70% reduced in my ability to absorb vitamin D, and as a result, that alone makes me highly susceptible for all kinds of cancers, colon cancer especially, but of course, the lung cancer that I mentioned, but all kinds of cancers. And so in the biohacking realm, what we do is we get that receptor to open up. So here's my receptor. Vitamin D should get in there, but it doesn't fit. And then if we take K2 and A, boom, it opens up, D can get in. My cancer prevention has just started. It just fires up your immune system. And the other cool thing, and Dr. Raj, you've heard me talk about this, but it turned on my brain chemistry. I had suffered from depression, massive depression most of my life. And suddenly my brain started making serotonin and dopamine correctly. And I went, I think this is happy. I'd heard about it. But it really opened my eyes to how targeted nutrition can not only stop my cancer risk. Of course, I don't smoke either, and I eat organic, and I do all those things. But now all the things that should happen because I can absorb vitamin D are starting to kick in, and I'm protected in a way that I don't think I could do through nutrition, because getting enough K2 in the diet is very difficult in this day and age. And so for me, I have to do a much higher dose of those nutrients to get my receptor open. And so I feel very confident that I'm not worried about cancer, but I have a history of it. Our family has a history of it, but I know what I'm doing, and I understand how to prevent it through understanding biochemistry, if that makes sense.
This is perfect. And understanding your biochemistry, right?
Yes.
So again, this is why My Happy Gene is so important. And I'm so glad that you opened this bottle here. Can you speak now, because of the intersection there, can you speak to the mental health side and the connection there with the depression and the approach for that, and how it impacted all of that journey?
Oh, 100%, because that's what I'm really very passionate about because of my own struggle with it. And trying everything I could to get out of depression, like it was just unyielding. And I had chronic fatigue syndrome as well. But as a healthcare practitioner, it was embarrassing because, I'm supposed to have the answers, and I'm supposed to be. So I hid it. I hid it a lot. And I think a lot of people do. And we're afraid to admit, we're afraid to open up and say, yeah, I struggle. But once I understood my genetics, it gave me a lot more compassion, and it gave me a lot more compassion for my patients too, because now I understand. So when I started taking the A, K, and D that I talked about, it turned on a pathway where tryptophan can be turned into serotonin, where tyrosine can be turned into dopamine, and suddenly my brain worked normal for the first time in my life. And I went, whoa, with just that targeted nutrition, very specific for me. Not everybody needs to take that. It may be other things for other people, but it changed my life. And so I'm very dedicated to understanding and passing on that compassion piece of it, because I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was struggled. I didn't know what was wrong with me. We make up stories. We blame our parents. We blame our upbringing. We blame the trauma that we've been through. But it was the story to explain my brain chemistry, my biochemistry. And so once I got balanced, I was like, yeah, that happened. And we all have struggles. We've all had traumas. There isn't any of us who escapes that. But when you're balanced, you can look at those things in a much more balanced way. And so we started looking at anxiety in the same way. What are the genes that don't let you break down the stress hormones like adrenaline or noradrenaline? If you have a genetic variant there, it tends to make you anxious and worried about everything. But when we learn what nutrients will help you break down those neurotransmitters that are stress hormones, you stop doing that. It just calms you right down. Same thing with the warrior gene that I mentioned. When people are really, just irritable, easy triggered to anger, that's a genetic variant, and you can balance that with like B6. There's some very specific nutrients that we do, and we tweak those kind of like a dial, and boom, the person's like true nature comes out, and they're happy. The happiness piece of it, I am absolutely in love with that, because my patients kept coming back in and saying, for the first time in their lives, they were content. It wasn't like the word they used was content more than anything, when we targeted the nutrition exactly for them. That same gene or enzyme that the body codes for through the genes that causes anxiety is also aggravated by green tea. And a lot of people are like, oh, I should drink green tea because it has high antioxidants, trying to prevent cancer or whatever you're doing. With that green tea, you're actually making that gene function less optimally. And so you're shooting yourself in the foot. And then the MAO gene, that's the anger warrior gene, if you take turmeric, and a lot of people take turmeric thinking that they're looking for anti-inflammatory kind of support there, and anti-cancer as well, turmeric, they're actually making that gene function less efficiently and making it worse. So with a lot of things we do in the left brain, thinking that we're doing the right thing, we're eating the right diet, we're taking the right supplements, sometimes are not right for you. They're not specific for you. And so that's what I'm really passionate about is, you know, when you get your genes tested and the results come back, you go, oh my gosh, I've been eating this stuff all my life thinking I'm doing the right thing, when it's actually, you know, sabotaging your health or maybe even leading to cancers or brain chemistry imbalances. So they're not separate. You know, they're actually kind of all the same situation.
Thank you for that, Dr. Dunn. And I'm sure Dr. Gladys has some questions. So let me just round up my question in to say, okay, so if someone understands that or is thinking about this, can you just say again, with this approach, can you explain from a patient or individual, what are the steps for them to take to begin this journey of understanding?
Thanks, Doc. So if you go to MyHappyGenes.
Excuse me, hold on. Excuse me, just a minute. Dr. Dunn?
Yes.
Never mind. I was trying to ask Rochelle to put her hand up so we can bring her up to the panel. Go ahead, Dr. Dunn. My apologies.
Oh, no worries. So they can go to myhappygenes.com and purchase the DNA kit. And you can get your mood and personality report, which is like the first step in really understanding yourself and having compassion for yourself. And like, oh, when I looked at my results, my depression slider was really high. And I was like, oh my God, this explains it. I wasn't me just being unwilling to be happy. It was a definite cause for it. And so that's our first step, is understanding ourselves. And then understanding how genes work. And then the second step is the diet and lifestyle report you can get to go further and get supplementation or more informed decisions. You would need to connect with a practitioner. We have about 600 practitioners around the country who have done some of this work with me. There are about 60, 70 on my referral site so far. We're gathering more, but I have people all over the country. So if somebody decides they want to work with a practitioner and get their supplements and go to the next level, we can find them a practitioner and hook them up from there.
Sorry, Dr. Ross, may I jump in here before you move the mic to someone
Absolutely.
else?
Take it away. I'm sorry for being greedy, but Dr. Dunn is so awesome.
No, I understand and appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Ross. Hi, Dr. Dunn. My name is Judith. I'm sitting in Gaborone, Botswana. It's a country in Southern Africa.
Wow.
And, you know, as you were speaking, I think my mouth fell open a few times when you mentioned turmeric and how, you know, folks are taking turmeric. I know so many people to take turmeric, you know, either to prevent COVID, to prevent all kinds of things. And, you know, the more you speak about how we should understand ourselves and then nutrition, I love the part about targeted nutrition and how it can help with depression. We have, you know, Botswana is a small country. We're a population of 2.2 million, perhaps. And we have a lot of issues now with mental health, especially amongst our young people. Yeah. And, you know, we're very quick to, unfortunately, to prescribe or to agree to give our young people chemicals. Yeah. Which I think turns them into something else. And I'm scared of chemicals and would prefer that we do it a different way. And so my question is around, you mentioned that you've got 600 practitioners in the US. And I'm wondering if you've done any work with doctors in Africa and Southern Africa. How would doctors be able to get in touch with you to see if it's something that we can bring here? especially in terms of the targeted nutrition. I really love that idea. And so, what are the financial implications of getting this done? And is it something that you feel is affordable for people who are not earning, salaries in dollars or in pounds or euros? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Those are really great questions. We are expanding. We have people in Australia, Canada, Europe, and so we're figuring out ways to get this to other countries. We don't have anybody in Africa yet, but there's no reason why we couldn't. We just need physicians who want to do this, and so they would sign up for a practitioner account, and they get wholesale pricing. So whatever they want to pass on to their patients, makes it cheaper if they decide they're not trying to, if they don't want to charge the full retail price and they want to give their patients a break, it's a lot more affordable for in that sense. And my assistant Helen will be able to ship DNA kits wherever around the country. So it helps if you have like a group of people that want to get it done, so we can ship. The shipment is a little cheaper to get over there all at once, or a practitioner that wants to buy 12 kits, 15 kits, and have it makes it a lot more affordable to get over there. I would love to help your country do this. It would be amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Dunn. I'll see what the interest levels are like and then reach out to you through Dr. Russ. Thank you very much. I have one last question, if I can take advantage of the fact that I have the mic. One of the issues that we are currently, I don't know if battling is the right word, but we have very high levels of HIV in Botswana. And I'm wondering, your genetic makeup is your genetic makeup, but how does a disease like HIV impact your genetic makeup? Because I know when folks become ill with HIV, their immune system goes down. And so they become, for example, cancer is very high amongst people who have HIV. I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. And it turns out that African Americans and Africans in general have a higher incidence of this vitamin D receptor genetically. And so one of the things you can do simple is do what I just said, the K2, A, and D supplementation. And what that does is fire up the immune system. It increases T cell function. And T cells are critical for fighting these viral infections. And it would be a huge thing, not only for the mental health, but also for HIV and other viruses that tend to, if your immune system isn't fighting things, you're just a sitting duck. You get it so easily, and even COVID or whatever. If your immune system isn't geared up to do that, and one of the most powerful ways you can do that is to turn on T cell production to maturity. So we have T cells are, our main defense against these kind of things. But if your vitamin D receptor isn't working correctly, they won't mature. Vitamin D is critical for the T cells to mature into full fighting warriors. And so simple, even if you just did that, the K2A and D, I think that would be a huge thing. And it would be fun to do just, take a group of HIV patients, 10 of them, and start giving them, some higher doses of those nutrients, and see if you didn't see a lowering of the viral count, the viral load, and their symptoms. I would love to do a study on that, Dr. Roz.
I'm writing it down right now, and I actually have a surprise for you. We'll talk about that off air.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Dunn.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would like to say something. This is Dr. Bolding. First of all, I'm glad that you're emphasizing genome profiling, a technique where a lab technique where individuals can actually learn how their genes interact with the environment and everything. And I have a question that I want to ask you. I'm not sure if you're familiar with CRISPR.
Yes.
Okay, you are. So that's a new biotechnology. Do you think that this can have an implication when it comes to dealing with breast cancer? Because I know that it's being used for sickle cell anemia, but they're looking at using it for other applications. And I was just wondering, what your thought is on that when it comes to breast cancer.
Well, it's a good question, Doc. I'm not an expert in CRISPR, and it's not something I really know a lot about. But to me, the sickle cell anemia thing, I get it. But that gene was developed. The positive side of that particular genetic variant is it protects you from malaria. So now, if you start taking that gene out, you've just made that person more susceptible to malaria, and the malaria can make a comeback. It's not fun. Sickle cell anemia is a very debilitating condition. It's just when we start messing around with Mother Nature at that level, this is millions of years of evolution that have led to these particular conditions. And so I'm not a fan. I don't look at at genetics in that way. I would rather look at, okay, why is that gene in our genome? What advantage did it give us? It's obviously there for a reason. It's survival of the fittest, right? Those people that could survive during certain conditions. Now we've inherited those genes for a reason. And so I would look at, okay, it's not really adaptive in today's age where we're angry all the time, or we're ready to fight all the time, or we're depressed, or we're susceptible to HIV. But I think there's a lot we can do with nutrigenomics to keep all the benefits of the genes that we've inherited through millions of years of evolution and optimize what we have and make the most of it. And so that's where we're straying into like biohacking. It's like, okay, it sucks to have sickle cell anemia. I don't know the nutrigenomics of that one, but at least in my world, that's how I kind of look at it, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. And, because I know that they're looking at using it in various, agriculture, cancer and everything. And the reason why I said I totally agree with you to a certain extent where if you have a situation where you don't know if that gene is being used someplace else, and you can't just go in knocking out genes. And the only reason why they selected sickle cell is because there was only one gene involved. So it was the easiest one to work with. But when you look at things like, let's say, I don't mean to go off a topic like cystic fibrosis, someone who has a lifespan of maybe 25 years, that I could see, you weigh the risk and the benefits, and that may, benefit you. But yeah, I just wanted to know what your thought was about that. Thank you.
Yeah, and the cystic fibrosis is interesting because I have a patient she's turning 45, and she was never, she was never going to live past her 20s, and she never even learned to balance a checkbook because her parents knew that her life was going to be short. But we actually worked with her, and she's doing well, and she's married, and has a full life, and she's in her 40s. So it's those are the kind of possibilities that happen when you kind of understand the underlying causes here and work with it, with nutrients and lifestyle, et cetera.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that as well. Like you said, I think it's a combination of things. And that's one thing I do emphasize to my students, the significance of nutrition. We already know that processed foods can, cause cancers. And, and like you said, we still have those these different chemicals that are in the air, and and they can cause. So it's numerous things. It's not just one thing. But I guess that's when we move into the next topic of personalized medicine. And like I said, the significance of having the opportunity to do genome profiling. That is just, But my thing is, what is the cost for something like that? I'm not really sure if it's affordable to everyone. So I think that that's an issue. So, but I do like that we have moved in that direction in society where we can actually do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I can respond to that, it's getting cheaper and cheaper, because used to be to get your genes tested was thousands of dollars, and every year it gets cheaper and cheaper, and we get more information for less money. And so it's, as AI develops too, I think that's even going to add to lowering the cost for all of this, and even getting our entire genome tested, which we test for 675,000 SNPs, which is a lot of information. We're looking more at the ones that are associated with biochemistry. We charge $295 for the gene test and your first report retail. So if you're working with a practitioner and they want to give you their wholesale price on that, that's great. It's up to them. But it's pretty cheap. It's come way down to that. And then if you want to go further and get the other reports, all in would be a retail of $544 for how to eat, how to prevent cancer, what nutrients to take specifically for you. And you only have to do it once. Your genes aren't going to change. So it's a little bit high investment in the beginning, but God dang, to prevent all those things that could be coming down the line seems pretty cheap, I think.
Yeah, and that is true. But, I would like to also see this be available globally because, and I think AI is what's going to allow that to happen because we'll be able to share real-time data and, hopefully, get the World Health Organization involved where, so yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, and I agree. And I think the more wearables that are getting, more and more sophisticated, we can see the results of this. Oh, you changed your diet to fit your genes and you're taking these supplements to fit your genes. Look at your HRV and your heart rate and your blood pressure and your blood work. Everything is coming back into what is normal for you. And so that's kind of fun and interesting to see. And then when you get off track, your wearables can go, hey, I noticed you're eating a little too much chocolate cake and you shouldn't be drinking that turmeric.
Okay. Let's leave him thinking about that.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dunn. This is really awesome. I'm not sure if anyone else has any questions.
Yes. This is Nancy Anderson. I can't even, okay, how do I paint this picture? I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I really live in Denver, Colorado, but I am in Scottsdale, Arizona for specialized bougie treatment at Invita Medical. I had a random blood test because I was fatigued. I'm in my 60s. I thought it was just part of aging. And I was called almost immediately and told, you're a very sick woman. I had no symptoms, you guys. This has been calcified in my pancreas for 40 years and suddenly woke up, probably because of breaking up with a narcissist and getting my life together, mental, physical, spiritual. I mean, I'm golfing 18 holes, blah, blah, blah. Here are some names for you. Advanced Longevity saved my life. Ashley is an RN there. I met them at a business conference. They tested my genome. They did all these scans. I've got specialized supplements. But this was to address fatigue. It was Ashley who said, you really should get more advanced blood tests. And she said, believe me, they do not test for liver enzymes in your basic GP exam. They insist on liver enzymes. And that's what showed I was off the chart, like alcoholic. I mean, I was accused of alcohol. It's like, I am not, okay, I have a margarita now and then. That's not what gave me this tumor. Right. So it has advanced into my stomach, but I tell you what, because of Invita in Scottsdale, because of Advanced Longevity, because of MD Anderson, I was 7 days inpatient, every test, endoscopy, every scan, and they got down to the bottom of it. Denver, Kaiser needs to stay in their lane. This is not something for them to touch. And some practitioners think that they can practice on me. When you look me in the eye and say, you got 12 months to live, don't practice. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, back off and get me to someone who does. Absolutely. So bottom line, I'm sitting here. I saw Adele last night, you guys. Oh my God. She's amazing. And so I'm finally, after traveling for the last 12 days, I'm going to be in my own bed in Scottsdale tonight. But I have to get a port flush and I have to get a dressing change. And this is part of my life now. And it sucks. But my numbers are going down and I see my oncologist next week. Chemo is killing me. I'm down to 100 pounds soaking wet, but I'm staying strong. And thank you, all you practitioners. Thank you, Lance Bennett, for giving me this opportunity of joining you, and keep up the hard work. We need to get out there internationally. I'm speaking on TV. I'm speaking in podcasts. I'm writing a book. I'm doing a stand-up because I call him Wally in my pancreas, and he needs to get out of the basement and get a job. He's the son I never had. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for giving me a chance to speak.
Nancy, thank you for sharing. This is Dr. Ross. Principal Lance has a meeting set up for us, and thank you so much for sharing. I'm excited for us to actually get together.
Can I say something? I just want to say something. Nancy, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I would like to say that, you being diagnosed at a late stage, that is not uncommon because of the location of where, the pancreas are located. It's hidden behind the stomach. And usually, when people are diagnosed with it, it's usually late stage. If it's diagnosed early, it's because of something else that was going on and they just happened upon it. So I just want to say, God bless you. And, you're doing great and can, stay strong, hang in there.
If I may, this is Rochelle. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the area that I specialize in, stage 3, stage 4 metastatic disease, because this is where most of the folks in the nation are. You either find it very early in your treatment or you find it in later stages where there's not a lot of options for you. So Nancy, I commend you for keeping on searching and keeping looking for the answers, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take you to be dedicated and driven and advocate for yourself to say, no, there is something more going on, and this is not my normal. Pancreatic cancer is one of those hidden gems of cancer, I like to look at it as, because you don't feel any pain, you don't feel anything different, you just feel tired, or you have symptoms of diarrhea or your bowel issues. And so it gets hidden behind other processes and other things. And so I commend you, Nancy, for not staying in your same facility. Every facility or the local hospital down the street is not necessarily geared to take care of the specific cancer that you have. And so most people figure, okay, if I go to the hospital, I'm going to get treated and everything's going to be all right. No, that's not necessarily true. Every hospital is geared to treat certain things because those are the specialists and the doctors that they hire. And so when you are diagnosed with a specific kind of cancer, you really need to find somebody who has done that 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, so that you have the latest and greatest treatments that are available to you. And the other thing that most people don't know is that the treatments available to you based on where you live or the hospital that you choose are geared based on the formulary, meaning what is the contract that hospital has chosen for the medicines to be provided within your facility. And so if that facility isn't specialized in your area, you're not going to get the best treatment. So I commend you for looking to outside resources and having them walk you through that process to say, you need to look more, we need to look deeper, so that you were able to move from Denver, Colorado to MD Anderson in Texas, where they treat this normally. And so there's going to be side effects being on chemo, loss of appetite, but most importantly, when you're dealing with pancreatic cancer, it's sort of insidious a little bit more than others because that's part of your digestive tract. That's how you metabolize foods. That's how you take care and bring those nutrients from the foods into your body. And if that is altered, yes, you will lose weight. Yes, you will be fatigued because you're not able to absorb the food and the nutrients within the food to keep you going. So Nancy, you're not alone on this journey. You're doing great. And yes, it's going to be a tough road. And sometimes it's not operable, as I have found in some of the other brain cancers within my family. And so the fact that you're keeping on going and keeping that positive spirit and looking towards how to make the nutrients that you bring into your body the most effective, I commend you and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. So, with who is this voice of reason, may I ask? And thank you so much. You are so timely. Who are you?
My name is Rochelle Prosser. I am the founder of Orchid Healthcare Solutions. I am a 30-year neurotrauma ICU nurse, but I also am a data scientist. I'm a mother of 3 wonderful children, but I'm also the mother and spouse of 2 cancer survivors who were diagnosed at the same time. And I had to choose who I was going to help. Was it my 3-year-old or was it going to be my 52-year-old husband? No one should have to be in that situation. And for my daughter, my 3-year-old, she had an inoperable, incurable cancer at the time. And so you're looking at people who are in the dawn and in the dusk of their life, and who are you going to help? And that's where a lot of us find ourselves as caregivers, healthcare providers. I am one. And we also go through this cancer journey ourselves. And so I focus on precision medicine, bringing treatments down to that individual person, looking at that whole person and figuring out what is the driver of that cancer, and then looking nationally wide to find out who else has those drivers, because it's not always a gene. As you heard from Dr. Dunn, it could be your genetic profile, but there's other drivers within there. It could be a receptor. It could be just something else as part of your immunity. And so as technology is advancing, we need to look holistically at the person and the individual, because no longer is it appropriate to say, here's a drug, let's give it to the entire nation and figure, and then we'll let those that have cancer fall through from the sieve and do trickle down cancer economics. That doesn't work. That no longer works. And so we need to look at the genomic panel of all of us together, all of us, because what works for you may not work for me or may not work for somebody else, or based on where you live regionally, your environment. It may work over here in Japan, but it's not going to work in Africa because our genetics are slightly different, or how we deal with stress while going through the cancer journey. So I am part of the Office of National Coordinator. I sit on the HITAC Committee, which is Health Information Technology Advisory Committee. But I'm speaking here today as myself and a business owner and a parent and a wife to come and bring what is available in precision medicine and looking at this wonderful panel of folks here today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, my fellow hosts, have at this wonderful heart and brain and soul.
Wow, that's all I can say. I'm sitting here and I'm just dumbfounded. You know, sometimes in this world, we think we go through stuff. I cannot imagine. I had one sick child. I can't imagine having to make the choice that you've had to make, Rochelle. So I'm so appreciative for being here, for hearing this, for being reminded of what is important, and that no matter what we're going through, no matter how bad we think it is, somebody else always has a much tougher choice and a much tougher road. Thank you again so much for being here. We appreciate it. I'd like to direct the conversation a little bit. And can someone please help me bring up Nancy? She's got her hand up. I was trying to bring her up. I don't know what I'm doing. Someone on the team, please help me.
I'm here. I'm up. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, Nancy, this is specifically to you. We are sending you love and light and total restoration. So just keep the fight. Just keep it going, and know that you're being prayed for and you're being looked after, and all is well, no matter what it is. It's okay. You just keep on doing what you're doing.
I feel it. I feel it.
Thank you.
It's there. So I'd like to redirect the question just a little bit. Dr. Dunn provided some very, very valuable information that I think can be beneficial, not just to those of us who are in the developing nations, but in the emerging South. And here's my question from a business standpoint as well, Sister Rochelle. How can we help or assist or facilitate getting this kind of treatment to the developing South, to the global South, where people may not have as much money, but where the research and the treatments that are available, that are being brought on by AI, that are being brought to the forefront? How can we get that into places like Belize, places like Africa, like South America? And I'm leaving it open to anyone who would like to answer this question. Thank you.
Yes, I'd love the opportunity to answer that question. So financial toxicity is one of the main issues in cancer that is preventing a lot of people, not just in the United States, but worldwide, from accessing the proper care, therapeutics, and even resources that are available to most of us worldwide. We, when we look to the mandate of the World Health Organization 2030, some of the mandates are looking at quality of life and looking at patient reporting outcomes. How the environment, your values, your cultures, your beliefs actually work to provide health, to provide recovery in cancer, but also looking at, is there a basic understanding within your nation of knowing that cancer is not something that you're going to just pick up off the street. It has nothing necessarily to do with your genes. I think just recently, the National Institute of Health was saying, even though there are these germline genes on the BRCA gene, but 90% of the breast cancer cases that are coming are not germline, meaning it's not hereditary. Most of them are, it's a spontaneous incidence, meaning you're patient ground zero, number one of your family. And so knowing what your genetics are, or if it's even a genetic driver, and most of us in Black and brown populations, it's not even a genetic driver, it's triple negative. So what does that mean? It means we haven't found the gene or the receptor that's driving this cancer. And so it's the treatments that we have currently available might not work. We have to look at it in a different ways, from a different lens, and bring in other treatments and access. And so when you don't have the access to be able to financially afford doing the treatments themselves or the testing themselves to know which way you're supposed to go, it became difficult. And so we can look to the lessons that COVID taught us on how we were able to bring the testing kits more proximal to the countries worldwide that didn't have it, that didn't have access. We have plenty of researchers who are available, willing, and wanting to learn. And maybe it is that we start from ground zero and start within the country instead of providing it and shipping it to the country. And so that's what was done in COVID, where we shared the genetic profile and then said, okay, here are the tools, here's the equipment, start it there, and you can reverse engineer it, or at least build it back up within your country and use what's available within the resources that you have on the ground in your country to build these drugs. What is hindering a lot of folks are these trade agreements and these IP concerns. There's been a lot of resources put towards drug developments from other countries, from other industries, in specific the pharma industry, where because they have patents on these drugs, we cannot make it generically viable and available to other countries at a reduced cost. But what we can do is look to NGOs, foundations, or even organizations like mine that created a cancer treatment library that houses all of the therapeutics in one place, so you can digitally access it where you have internet or satellite link. And at least then you know what that drug is. And for those where you can come together and practice travel tourism, you may not have the cancer resources in the hospital in your country of Ghana or Gambia, but you can have access proximal in Nigeria, or going to Singapore, or traveling to Switzerland. So these are some of the things that we are looking at now, to at least, while we build up the resources in these other countries that have a robust public health organization founded on nurses. And if we can bring those nursing focus tools down to the nursing level within your country, it now becomes cost effective. We now can look at it from a perspective that the nurse, who has always been the one to collect and hold and be most proximal to the patients, are now driving those treatments and can offer the best solutions based on the population they serve. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And it's an excellent answer. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass the mic to Sister Yodit. Is there anyone else on the team? But let's start with Sister Yodit that have any question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Paula. And thank you, Rochelle, for joining us this afternoon. It's a pleasure to listen to you speaking. I'm not sure if I should call you Dr. Rochelle or Nurse Rochelle.
Nurse is fine. I'm not a physician.
Okay. All right. But it's wonderful to hear about the work that you're doing, and the fact that you're also thinking about, continents like Africa. I think that's very encouraging, and I'm hoping that you will continue to work in this space. But I wanted to go back a little bit and ask you if you could, and before actually I ask my question, to appreciate you sharing some of your personal experiences. I, like Miss Paula, can't imagine having to make such decisions. You must be a very brave person. So really appreciate and humbled by your presence today. I wanted to find out about you and what you do. You've explained some of the work that you're doing, but perhaps share some of your journey with us so that we know who Rochelle is. Thank you.
And with that, can you also explain what is Orchid Healthcare Solutions? Speaking of solutions, so yes.
Absolutely. So I am actually a native of Canada. So I come from Canada, and I emigrated to the United States about 25 years ago. And so coming from that lens, healthcare delivery is completely different. And so they are not going to take a lot of risk. They focus on the person's quality of life and focusing on the nurse being the purveyor and the center of healthcare, and everything else revolves around it, which is not how it is today in the United States. So I had to learn and adjust for the professional shock, the cultural shock, and everything else. And my grandmother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I only found out about it 3 months before she passed away. And I was 18 or 19 at the time. I'm significantly older now, so I'll hide the gray hair. But I looked at that, and knowing that culturally, even on her deathbed, when I asked, "Oh, you have these scars, do you mind sharing? Maybe there's something I can learn." And so within culture and value, you don't want to stress your family. You don't want to discuss things that is going to make them upset, or everyone else in the family knows that your loved one has cancer except for you, the patient, and you feel like, I know there's nothing wrong with me. I know I'm feeling this way. Why won't people tell me? And so you cannot change values, beliefs, and cultures within communities. You have to learn how to work within them and find the value that is to them. What is that quality of life piece that makes them driven, so that you can help them survive, so that you can expound knowledge and information in the way and manner that they can receive it and accept it without going against their cultural values and norms. And being in America, it is such a rich and fertile ground to be able to look at that and understand how we are a tapestry of many different communities that all come together, and each one is unique while going through the same processes of cancer. We just want to survive. We just want to survive. So as a nurse, we are the ones that have the pulse on what the patient is feeling, on what's going on with the patient. And so I use that lens to help my husband and my daughter survive. Meaning, if the cure is worse than the disease, we're going in the wrong direction, period. So let's try something else. And considering that there was no roadway, there was nowhere to drive the car, we had to figure it out on the fly. And that's where a lot of these other countries are today that don't have the robust research and analytical data, but yet we have the patients there. And they may think, oh, it's just rare. It's a rare disease. It's rare in the community that you're in because you're patient number one, ground zero. But it is not rare if you look to other communities, other countries, or other places in the world. And so we need to focus on you, that individual. And I realized that coming through this, even though I am in the healthcare system, there is still a lot to learn. I think, Dr. Dunn, you were mentioning that there is a mental health component to it, because when you're dealing with someone who's in the dawn of their life, you're going to do anything. You're going to read anything. You're going to try anything, especially when you don't have any options, right, Nancy? I think that goes to what a lot of us are feeling. And so there's a lot of snake oil out there. But most importantly, when I looked across those that are within my culture, those that look like me, we're not surviving. And we weren't surviving because the drugs are not geared for us. Okay? We're not included within the research. And when we are included in the research, the outcomes that we have skews the data so badly that they just want to take us out and put us to the side. But here's the thing, those side effects, those skews are what, even though it's killing us today, knowing how those skews work, knowing how that data makes us different in targeted ways is what's going to make all of us survive, okay? And so we have a history in this country, and again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, where healthcare wasn't very pleasant to us. It wasn't. We were looking at precision medicine and creating specific drugs, specific immunotherapies, targeted therapies, antibodies, even radiation that is specific to. As a community, all of us Black and brown folks, all of us women, no matter what color we are, if we don't provide our genetic sample, our DNA into the pool, into the mix to find these targets, all of us aren't going to survive because we are part of the human race. And we need to understand that fundamentally. And so as researchers look to what are these solutions, how does it work at a cell, you have to remember those that are in academia and those that are in research are not actually connected to the care. And so we are looking at providing treatments and we don't know how it works within your body. We now have medical advancement that we can look and say, all right, you have the cell. Let's take this tumor and let's try 20 different drugs at one time. Those drugs are not going through your body, okay? So now we are able to make medical advances and say, yes, this drug will work for you, or no, don't do that because it didn't take that cell down. And you never put the drug through your body. That's where we are today. But if we don't all provide our genetic profile, we will never know how it works on individual one. So my company helps individuals in stage 3 and stage 4 cancers and metastatic disease, where you have exhausted everything in your arsenal that is at your local hospital, community hospital, academic center. And we say, we're going to remove the barriers that prevent you from finding those treatments. We're going to remove your zip code that prevents you from having access to these treatments based on your insurance company. But most important, we're going to go outside of the formulary that your hospital that you're in to bring those drugs, those treatments, those therapeutics right to you. So in 2 minutes or less, you can know what's available to you. And that includes all of the clinical trials, everything that's in the experimental realm, and everything that has been proven for you in 2 minutes or less. So right in the patient point of care, when you're in front of that doctor, when you're in front of that healthcare provider, you know which way you need to go. We also have a geolocation to allow you to know within your country, where is that drug available? So if you have a satellite link, if you have a Zoom call, if you're able to even just pick up the phone and call, we can help you. 2 minutes or less. That phone call may cost you $5, depending on where you are, because I only need 2 minutes of your time. Or we can do it by email. So that's one of the things we provide. The second thing is healthcare delivery navigation. How do we give you healthcare navigation? And that is the most important key to all of this, because if you're not in front of the right provider, often most people don't even know what the next question is to ask. And that was where I found there's a lot of resources available worldwide and within your own communities. But if you don't know that you're there, you can't access the treatments that's available for you. And having someone who knows the healthcare system or multiple healthcare systems in different countries can really make a difference between your overall survivorship or whether you're not going to make it. But the final piece is this. Just as drug deliveries and oncological treatments are geared specifically to the individual, we also want to know, how do you want to be treated? If you feel that you have fought the good fight and you're tired, then we'll help you with the transition. But most importantly, we're going to make sure that life can still go on without you within those that are left behind in your family. We provide scholarships through other organizations to allow your children to be educated. So at least your partner isn't having to worry about, oh my goodness, I've lost income, one of our breadwinners, and now we still need to educate the children that we have. It's a 4-year scholarship. Or if you want to find other ways to help pay for your treatments, there are other organizations out there that it's not a one and done, that we have to share the wealth. And so we're going to give you $1,000 and cover a tenth of your mortgage and don't come back. No, some cancer treatments like breast cancer, it takes 2 years. So offering research or offering resources and saying, okay, we'll pay for your rent for this month, but you got to figure it out, that's not helpful to people. So we also bring in the community to you to let you understand that you're not alone. And there's never a great time for financial planning if you've never talked about it. But at least if you know how much the cost of care is going to cost you, you can then turn to the resources to say, okay, I need this much. This is what my finances are. This is how I need to cover them. And we can find ways to do that. I received 7-figure medical bills. And I think this is where Marjorie is, or Dr. Norlis is talking about, that in other countries, even a 3-figure bill is completely out of reach. And in America, healthcare costs are so excessive, it doesn't have to be this way. And so we want to bring care more proximal. And sometimes looking at how you do things and the way you do things, bringing in other specialties, you can bring and reduce those costs just by thinking out of the box. So that's what Orchid Healthcare Solution is. We have a cancer treatment library that houses all oncolytics in one spot. We offer oncology care navigation and really chronic care disease navigation, because cancer is now becoming a chronic disease. But in cancer, you have some other issues like kidney disease or heart disease because of the drugs that you've taken. And we look at the person holistically to say, what are the specialists that they need to be able to navigate their care, but also be safe while on these drugs or these therapeutics, so that we don't provide and create situations that, okay, you survived cancer, but now you have heart disease. You survived cancer, but now you have liver disease. Or you survived cancer and now you have diabetes, which becomes debilitating over time. And if we can bring the specialists and all the parts that are important to the care to help you survive and have quality of life, then we've done our job. And that is part of the decision tree making. We include nursing in all of those processes of that journey, because nurses are always excluded. And now we house that in a nursing EHR where nurses can come in, put their notes, and now that beautiful data is available to them, but also it's operational. So now you can speak apples and apples with that physician and say, the data says we need to do it this way. The data is driving this, and patients have that data, and we need to be able to make it operational. So that is Orchid Healthcare Solutions. It's based on science. It's based on holistic, looking at the entire person. And I am not averse to bringing in other treatments and modalities, because if you don't know what's going on in your blood work, you don't know what's going on inside of you. And if you don't know what's going on inside of you, you don't know where to go. And so you need to have that anchor and foundation to move forward. And I just wanted to speak, there was talk about sickle cell and COVID and cancers, and looking at different ways of what the nutritions can be used to help you. I'm a big advocate for that. I think my daughter had brain cancer, my husband had liver and prostate cancer. There are some cancers where just the surgery will remove the problem. But what happens to those that cannot have surgery, right? We need to find ways, and what are the drivers? If it's cytokine, if it's tyrosine, do you need to adjust your diet? Or some of the diet that you take will make your cancer treatment work optimal or suboptimal. So we need to be aware of how our nutrition can help and heal us while on therapy, but also after therapy as well. And so in sickle cell was kind of unique. What we're finding is in blood cancers, AML, very, very rare cancer, but we're finding it a lot in Black patients that have sickle cell. And a lot of us are not aware that that is there, and that is a risk because it's masked in the sickle cell crises. So I just want to bring that out to you. The second thing that we're finding is that there is a really specific kidney cancer that is now showing up in specific Black populations based on their genetic preference. And so I urge you, go to your doctor, do that full panel workup, know about what your health is so that you can become aware. Most of us don't even know what our history is because of the slave trade, and it has been taken away from us. And so we need to help each other out, understand that there are cultural and value and belief differences, but still know that health and your own personal health needs to be taken care of within the construct of our values and beliefs. Any questions?
Wow. Let me just say, wow. I just see 12 minutes on the clock before this wraps up, and I'm getting so sad. This is so wonderful, very diverse, informational. I do want to take a moment. Thank you so much for that, Nurse Proser. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. We have our technical officer here, Michael Campkin would like to make a statement, and then I would like to acknowledge the crowd and everyone who's been hanging in here for the last hour and 20 minutes. Thank you guys so much for being on Oncology and Well-Being Part 2. And take it away, Michael. We can hear you.
We can hear you. Okay, you're back. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. So if you would like to access the Cancer Treatment Library or the Nursing EHR, you're welcome to go to Orchid, like the flower, orchidcancercare.com. orchidcancercare.com. Register according to your profile, whether you're a patient, a doctor, a nurse, a social worker. If that role isn't there for you, I will create it for you. Just reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, social media. My company is orchidhealthcaresolutions.com. That's a little bit longer. You can email me at orchidhcs@gmail.com or find me on whatever social media that I am connected out there. Google my name, you'll find me. It's just a pleasure to be here and to speak the truth about cancer and what's available here.
Thank you so much. Dr. Dunn, can you just follow up really with you? How can the individuals that's listening that want to get in touch with you as well?
Yeah, thank you. If they want to get your genes tested, you could go to MyHappyGenes.com, but you can also reach me at Dr. J.A. Dunn at MyHappyGenes.com. And if there's anybody listening who wants to become a practitioner and use this platform, it's all set up for you. You don't have to know a lot about genetics and biochemistry to use what we've created. The software does it for us. So, and it doesn't cost you anything to become a practitioner. You can just sign up, get wholesale pricing, and use this in your practice. So it's a great extra tool for those of you practicing, and especially with, we're wanting to expand to other countries. And I think Dr. Roz and I have, we've talked about how to get a lot of testing covered through other methods, through government support or government programs. So stay tuned for that. And I think, again, AI, I think will reduce the cost of it over time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dunn. Thank you so much. I am in Belize in Central America, one of the smallest countries in Central America, but it's English speaking. And we desperately need these kinds of services and these kinds of resources. I am Garifuna, and the Maya community, we never had cancer was like we didn't even know what that was. And now when I moved back in 2019, so many people are dying of cancer. So something has changed in the environment or in the culture or the food or something. It's become an epidemic, a real epidemic here. So whatever resources that are available, whatever partnerships that need to be undertaken, we are open to that. That's what the Happiness Tribe is about, because people cannot they can't attain happiness and satisfaction if they're ill and they're sick and we're struggling. It just doesn't go together. So this is the reason why we do this work. And we so appreciate each and every one of you, not just the physicians and the experts, but everyone in the audience that's taking the time out to visit and to get this information. We, the team of the Happiness Tribe, are not medical practitioners, but we are the consumers of all services. And so it behooves us to be informed and to be equipped to make informed decisions. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula. I just want to say one thing. I'm madly in love with Belize. I love Belize. It's an incredible country.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You've got to come. We'll come. We will continue this conversation offline. This is something that's absolutely necessary. And just to kind of add to the conversation a little, you spoke about, both of you and Rochelle spoke about sickle cell disease. My son was born with sickle cell SS, and he had a gene therapy where they took my gene, induced a sickle cell crisis in me to splice his gene. And I was told that he wouldn't live past 2 years old. My son is in December the 28th, he's going to be 36 years old, and he's now married. So it's been a sacrifice, and I do it all over again.
Amazing. That's a great story.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And for the folks on the call, my husband and daughter are alive. My daughter is in grade 8. She's getting A, B's, and C's. Her cancer survival date was April 18th of this year. So it actually took me 10 years using the methodology that I'm talking about to save her life. And I'm not going to say cancer survival is easy. You have to deal with the side effects and the outcomes, but it's a great life. My husband is also alive. He is 67 years old. So we're happily married and we're here. It works when you focus on the individual. So Marjorie, can't wait to meet with you offline, and anyone else that would like to talk to me about the services.
Thank you. Let me just quickly say, Nancy, too, I hope you see that this is even tailor-made for you. With everything that you have exposed to us here, we appreciate it. And I'm sure Dr. Dunn, as well as Nurse Proser, is more than willing to, join you on your journey and offer what they can in their expertise.
Absolutely.
Sister Yoda.
Thank you, Ms. Paula. I wanted to say thank you to both Nurse Rochelle and Dr. Dunn for joining us this afternoon. And, it's obvious that you're very good at what you do. You're professionals. But what I love even more is that you are powerful activists. And I really hope that the young people that you engage with and encounter as you're doing your work are able to learn from you that it is so important to become activists so that, healthcare becomes available for all. Healthcare is fair, and we're really looking at taking care of it in a sustainable way, meaning, trying to not turn to chemicals, et cetera, et cetera. So I really appreciate that about you. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. I've appreciated this podcast. I've learned so much. I have a lot of notes and people that I want to talk to about, what to do next, because the continent, I think there's a lot happening on the African continent, and there are a lot of doctors who are making excellent progress. I think with Botswana and HIV, you may know that we've had very good success when it comes to prevention of HIV transmission, etc., from mother to children. So there's a lot that's already happening, but also to appreciate the power of technology and the fact that we can get to know about what other people are doing. I'm still amazed by that just in one afternoon, you make connections with individuals that can really start creating programs that will impact thousands. I'd really like to also appreciate Nancy for sharing your story with us this afternoon. I can't imagine, the pain that you must have been going through, but very encouraged by your bravery. You sound like you're someone who's very brave. and we'll be praying for you and that you will be okay. Thank you so much, everyone, folks who are listening to us this afternoon. This has been a really wonderful afternoon and podcast. Thank you.
Thank you all for the invitation.
Miss Kim, take it away.
Thank you. Sometimes it actually feels, thank you feels inadequate. I don't know what to say. I can only say, come to Africa, I'll slaughter for you a goat. That's what we do in appreciation. When we are touched, when we are touched beyond words, I appreciate your bravery. I appreciate that's all of you, because when I was, sometimes when we are struggling with cancer patients, sometimes I think we don't take a moment to think about that even these health professionals have their own struggles. So just listening to Rochelle, just going back to, I can't imagine the struggles I've had with my mom and her cancer. I couldn't care less what the doctor was going through. I just needed a cure for my mom. And it's so easy for us even to hit on the medical professionals and demand solutions, because it's easier to take our pain there. And right now, going through this conversation, I took my pain, my anger to all these conspiracy theorists. And of course, we also have to sit back and go like, there could be very little I can do about these people. Let me look within my space. What can I do? What is it I can do to give hope, to give some happiness, to spread, to just know for brave people like Nancy and everybody else who could be listening, who could be in the listening lounge. And I mean, we all have our struggles. And this is the specific reason we created the Happiness Tribe. And today, I think you've touched me beyond. It has made so much sense. I so much appreciate what Dr. Dunn you're doing, Rochelle, Dr. Ras, Dr. Gladys, Miss Yodit, Michael, Selassie, Miss Paula, everyone. We are a team, we are a community. And yes, there's a lot of pain out there as we know it. And the specific reason we meet here every Sunday and discuss this. And I'll make my call and my humble request. I think we need to be doing at least once a month, even if it's not done on Sunday, but at least once in a month, I think we need to discuss oncology. Because I'm thinking about how much I've learned. And I'm sitting here thinking about how many of my other friends I should have tried to call who are struggling with cancer. I think we've all lost our our friends, our relatives through this monster. And the pain in going through the journey. I mean, there's a lot of awareness campaign that needs to be out there. There's a lot of just creating that space that we know when you're dealing with this thing, you're dealing with your financial crisis, you're dealing with your mental health, you could be dealing with loneliness. And this thing doesn't come and stop everything else. You don't get sick and then there's a button put that your mortgage from now on, it's paid up, that your children will study well, that this and that. No, life still happens. And especially us in Africa, financially, I was just looking at the statistics of countries with the highest rate of cancer, and I went like, no, this stats, it's about countries that are able to diagnose cancer. Because I can only imagine in Global South, a lot of people actually die before they're diagnosed. It's very, very possible. And it's very easy to just give up. You can't even afford it. What are you trying? So my heart goes out to each one of you. I'm touched. And I'm so glad that today I was recording this. I hope I have your permission to put it together as a blog post for others to listen, get hope, get help. I humbly request you to drop all your websites on the comment section so that people can follow you and get to know how to reach out to you. I have a very active blog post. So I'm going to post on the Happiness Tribe and I'll post on my personal blog. Because I think the best we can do is to spread hope, to spread resilience, to try and inspire others that often feel overwhelmed. It's very easy. These are tough battles to fight, and to just emphasize you're not alone. Nancy, you are not alone. This is a safe space. We meet here, we laugh, we cry, we talk about so many things, we bring our personal stories, we encourage each other. And please know you can always reach out to any one of us. We may not be professional therapists or professional doctors, but we have big hearts. And sometimes we know who to refer the next person to. And sometimes we have what, Miss Paula, what do you call it? Your couch. That we virtually sit on that couch. When you have that day that you feel the weight of the world, we call each other, we chat. Something close to the friendship bench in Zoom. Chiesa, you know that pretty well. I can't remember. Miss Paula, you tell us what you call your couch. There's a couch that we all virtually.
You need couch time. If you need couch time, we're available for couch time. This is how we support each other as a family and as a tribe.
Awesome. So I hope members of the tribe will honor my request that at least once a month we have this session that we can all come here. I mean, this thing is affecting everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Vivian, Mercy, our lovely Chiesa, Peter, Margaret, Paul, Mijon, Sebabato, my neighbor from the Big King. That's Lesotho. Matilda, sorry if I butcher your name. Radegonde, Dwayne, our Kenneth. Good to see you, Kenneth. Brian, Joe, BJ Cobbs. BJ Cobbs, it's been a while. I hope you're keeping well. Faith. Okay, and now LinkedIn doesn't want me to mention others, but I see quite a number of other people, but it's acting up. I can't get to the bottom. Just know, even if we didn't mention your name, and I hope my other colleagues will mention, we so much appreciate you joining us. Just this is a community. This is what we call the spirit of Ubuntu. Just to teach you a new South African word. We are, gosh, now I've lost the meaning. Chiesa, come and save me. Miss Judith. So, but it's literally the spirit of togetherness. I am because we are. So whatever journeys we're going through in life, it gets lighter when we share that. So we mourn together, we cry together, we laugh together. And as you know it, especially the African culture, we dance all the time. You can't even tell when we're dancing because we're mourning, and we're dancing when we're celebrating. It would be so nice to close this with a nice song. Michael, please, can you raise up to the occasion? I had the mic back to our host in case there was something else to be said. And thank you so much. And have a pleasant week.
Go ahead, Yoda. Or Michael? Next week.
We'll come back with our dancing
week,
shoes.
Isn't there a topic? What are we doing next week's topic?
Can I say one thing before we...
Oh, sure. I'm so sorry. We forgot my girl here. I'm sorry.
No worries. I just wanted to say, I needed this emoji here that expresses the blown mind, right? When somebody's mind is like really blown. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the information and personal stories that were shared, especially Rochelle and Nancy. And I got here a little late, so I'm so happy that I was able to catch quite a bit of that. And I wanted to just say thanks to all of you who shared. Thank you, Dr. Dunn, as well. And I just wanted to also, I have seen Nancy on LinkedIn for a while, and we have communicated several times. I consider her as a LinkedIn friend. And to know, to hear these things that she's going through and not having known about it, it's, it just wakes us up to understanding that you don't know what people are going through. We are constantly communicating and interacting with people on professional basis here on LinkedIn, and it's so important to understand, to just have that on the back end of our mind, to that we don't know what we don't know about other people, and to just have some grace and show grace and kindness. And on the note of thank you, I also wanted to say an extra thank you here for Kenneth. As you all know, Kenneth is the LinkedIn community uh, news spreader, I'm going to call you for right now. And he was so kind to share this with so many. And I don't know how many of you heard about it, but I know he shared it with so many. And I just want to also it's important to kind of share these kind of informations with other people, especially the topics that Happiness Tribe focuses on really touch on so many things that are so personal to people, and touch us from many perspectives, whether it's personal, healthcare wise, professionally, and so on and so on. So we try to focus on topics that are important to people overall, and to share these links with others. And I don't know how many, by just sharing with so many people, Kenneth, how many people you were able to help today, how many people you have been able to at least comfort and you know get that information also to them from our amazing experts here. So I encourage you to continue sharing these things with people and continue to help each other on that note as well. And again, thank you to you all for sharing your personal stories and encouraging others and inspiring others, but also the wealth of information that you were able to share with us. I urge you to continue to connect with each other. And again, thank you so much.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. I also want to thank everyone who really showed up. I can see Annie over there. I think the godfather of LinkedIn. And I also thank Margaret, for sharing, our posts as well. I can also see Peter over here, Joshua, Matilda, Joe, Faith, Mercy, Kenneth, is it Rode Gonde? I'm sorry for mentioning your name badly. Mariana, Paul, is it Seba, Sato, and BJ Combs. Thank you all very much, for attending this event. And today's event was really sponsored by, Orchid Healthcare, Solution. I think she's already spoke about what she's doing, and you can visit her site as well. We also have MyHappyGenes, I think .com also. They are also sponsors of today's event, and we have Beneath Undergarment. They also sponsored, this event. Thank you all very much for attending this show.
Well, thank you, Brother Selassie. And I think that is it for today. Sister Yodit, would you like to close us out?
Hi again, Ms. Paula. I'm just happy. Miss Kim usually says the final word, so I don't want to take it away from her. But thank you so much, and thanks again to everyone. And looking forward to seeing you with us next week. Take good care.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for coming.